Lionel, I've been wanting to talk to you. What is it, Panthro? I think it's time that we need to face reality and that Super 7 is not going to get our teammate Tatara to us anytime soon, and that we need to find some type of replacement for the team. Gosh, Panthro, I think you're probably right. But where could we ever find a replacement for Jatara? Have you checked the wanted ads? Wow, that's quite the outfit that you have there. And how fast did you say you could run? Hey, all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I toy review. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends Toy Biz Retro Cardback Tigra figure from Hasbro. Now this figure is a standalone, it's not part of any wave, and it is starting to hit shelves now. And of course, being a retro figure, it is on a card back that looks like the old 5-inch Toy Biz figures, even though Tigra herself was never actually released on one of these card backs. But, Hasbro's doing her. So this is the second time that Hasbro has done a Marvel Legends Tigra figure. And you've got the Marvel logo up at the top, you've got the Tigra name, and then off to the side you've got artwork, again very reminiscent of the old Toy Biz figures. And then on the back of the packaging, you again just have some more artwork for Tigra, a brief bio, and down below just some legalese and stuff. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other contents. So right off the bat, let's take a look at the two different head sculpts that are included with the figure. And you get this one. This is the one that's attached to the figure when you take it out of the packaging. It's a more normal looking head sculpt without much of an expression. She is wearing what looks like red lipstick. She's got the green eyes, which look pretty good. The hair is just kind of combed back, sculpted to be just kind of combed straight back. So all in all, that looks pretty good. You can see her eyebrows as well. Pretty good sculpting detail with the ears. So, no real complaints with the overall sculpting of the head sculpt. Now, I will say, as far as the skin tone, and this goes for the entire figure, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but definitely I feel like they've gone too strong with the red tint on the skin and not enough brown. She has appeared a little bit different in the comics with more red in her fur than brown, but when you look at this figure right out of the packaging, you think, it feels like Hasbro maybe got their color schemes mixed up between Tigra and Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. So, I don't know. So I definitely am not really digging the ultra red coloring on this figure. And if you're thinking, oh, well, it's just the camera that is making it look more red than that, I'm sad to say it's not. Right out, as soon as you look at it on the card back, it just, the red kind of knocks you over. So that's probably my biggest complaint overall with this figure. But as for the sculpting of this head sculpt itself, I think they've done a pretty good job of capturing the likeness of the character. Again, with more of just a general static type expression on the face. But, they did give us the second head sculpt. And let me just pop it off here. And as always, it just attaches with a ball joint. And then we get the second one, which I kind of like better, just because, it has more of an expression, an emotional expression. It looks like she's about to pounce on her prey. She's kind of gritting her teeth. Her hair is kind of flying back more. It's sculpted to be flying back more. So, I think if you're going to put your figure in some dynamic, poses, this is the head sculpt that you're going to end up wanting to use with the figure. Now, again, the skin tone has that very bright red, which, of course, it does match up with the rest of the figure. So, if you like this bright red color for Tigra, then you'll love this figure. But as far as the actual sculpting of the head, I think they've done a good job. Now, you get the extra hands as well with this one. So the ones that are attached to the figure are, basically sculpted so it looks like she's about to claw the eyes out of somebody. So again, these are probably the hands that you're going to end up wanting to use the most. You do get a pair of closed fists, so if you want her to punch somebody, she can. But I feel like with this particular character, these open hands with her claws essentially out are what you're going to want to use the most with it. Now here is a look at the previous Tigra figure that Hasbro did several years ago. They released this one more towards the beginning of the line. I actually was late in getting this one. I ended up having to buy it off of the secondary market because I wanted to round out my West Coast Avengers team. And of course, shortly after I did that, it was announced we were getting this updated version. But I feel like this one actually has a number of things that are better than this new figure. So let's start off with what I like about the new figure over the previous one, and that is the overall look of the face. So setting aside the skin tone, just the face on both of the head sculpts on this new figure looked better than the face on this old figure. That's probably the worst thing about this older figure, is that face sculpt. Just, you know, it looked like somebody hit Tiger over the face with a frying pan or something. It just was not a good looking face sculpt. And this new one definitely looks much better in regards to that. Now, again, the skin tone, I much prefer the brown. You know, this is the skin tone shown on this figure is much more in keeping with what when I envision Tigra, this is the skin tone that I envision. Again, I have seen some artwork that features her with a little more red tone to the skin, or the fur, I should say. But still, in general, I think Hasbro did a much better job of capturing the overall look of Tigra with the skin tone on this original figure over the super red color that they used on the new figure. Now, again, going back to the chest area, I think this is more realistic as far as just being, you know, showing off more of her cleavage. You know, that was very much in keeping with, the original character drawings of her in the comic books. I also want to point out that the detailing on this little amulet on her bikini top is much more detailed. You actually have some sculpting detail on there, as opposed to this figure where, you know, it's essentially just white painted white. You know, there's really very little detail here on that little amulet piece. So I feel like that is definitely something that is much nicer on this older figure. You also have they've sculpted the teeth here on her bikini bottom. Now with this one, instead of just being on the sides, you know, it basically goes all the way around. I'm not sure. This is really kind of how I remember it looking, more with just the teeth on the side. So the detailing of the sculpting, I think, on the teeth is a little better on the older figure, but I feel like this is more in keeping with it just being on the sides of the bikini bottom. So I like that better on the new figure. The tails, again, not really, you could rotate the tail on the old one. It's a harder plastic on this old figure, and it's not articulated other than the rotation. So, the tail probably, pretty equal, but, the rubber material is probably a little bit nicer than the harder plastic. And then one final area where I kind of feel like it was a little better. So on her claws, on her fingertips, they left her claws unpainted. They're just that straight up red color. Same with the toes. They left those unpainted. Her toes are just straight up orange. Whereas on the old figure, they actually painted her claws on both her hands and her toes. So just overall, the paint detail on this older figure, I think, is much better than on the new figure. Now, in case you were wondering, you actually can put the new head sculpts on the classic figure, and again, I think this head sculpt, as far as the actual sculpting detail, looks much better than the original figure. You would have to do some repainting because obviously the really red face would not match up with the rest of the body of this classic figure. But, if you're into customizing and such, and you want to repaint that more of a brown color, I actually think this head sculpt would look pretty good on this figure. Okay, now for just a few other comparisons. So first of all, here's the DC Essentials Cheetah, and she's a 7-inch scale figure, so she is definitely taller than the Marvel Legend one. But, just to give you a comparison there of those two. And just for fun, here's a comparison of the Marvel Legends Spider-Woman figure, which is a more modern figure than the original Tigra figure. But overall, while some people I'm sure like the upper body of this particular mold, I definitely feel like, the lower body here with like the hips and everything look much better on this new sculpt over one of these older ones. And then finally, here's a comparison of our fellow West Coast Avengers team. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be putting her on the shelf with other West Coast Avenger members. So we've got the classic Iron Man. You could switch out and use your Red Centurion Iron Man if you wanted. We've got Hawkeye and Wonder Man, and then Mockingbird, who is one of the original West Coast member teammates. But this, of course, is not her classic outfit that she wore back then. But we've yet to get that version of Mockingbird. And honestly, I don't know if we ever will or not. So this figure stands right about 6 inches, maybe a little bit over 6 inches, but pretty close to that 6-inch mark. Okay, now with articulation, she can turn the head all the way around. She can look down pretty good. With this head sculpt, with the hair straight down, she really can't look back. You do get some head pivot with this one. And then with the arms, she can get her arms out good there. And you've got rotation there at the shoulder. You get a bicep swivel. You got the double hinged knee or elbow, so she has good bending there at the elbow. You have rotation with the hands and then the hinges, so good up and down movement. So you can get her in pretty good claw, attack poses. And then she has a midsection joint, so you've got rotation, you've got pivot. You really don't have a whole lot in the way of crunch movement forward. She can look back more than forward. You do, however, get some gappage there between the upper and lower torso when you have her looking all the way back. You do not have a waist swivel with this one. And then with the legs, she can only do the splits about that much. She can get her leg forward pretty good there, and she can do her leg out and back. She does have the thigh swivel. She has the double jointed knees, so good bending there at the knee. And then with the feet, you have the hinges, so up and down movement. And you do have ankle pivot, of course, and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. And as I mentioned before with the tail, you just get the rotation, but no other articulation with this one. Okay, so that's my review. And overall, there are some things I do like about this figure. I do like the overall, sculpting of the head sculpts. I think those look much better than the original Hasbro Marvel Legend figure that was done for Tigra. The overall body itself, I think, looks pretty good, especially in the hip area. But there are just things on the original figure that Hasbro did that I do think are better. I like the skin tone much better, the browner colors, as opposed to this ultra red that they used on this new one, which is the thing I hate the most about this new figure. Also, just, you've got more detailing on things like her amulet that's on her bikini top and such. More paint detail on the claws and on both her hands and feet. So those are nice little added things on the original figure that I do think are better than this new figure. So it's almost like if you could combine the things from the two different figures, you would almost have the perfect figure. But, again, it's nice for those who missed out on the original figure to be able to get this one. And if you're into customization, you might even take the head sculpts from the new figure and repaint it with the more brownish type colors and use it on the classic figure. I don't know. But definitely, I feel like there's some misses with this particular figure that Hasbro's given us today. Now, I'd love to hear your own thoughts about this figure down in the comments section below. Do you like that red color that they've used, or do you think it's too much? Let me know in the comments section. And also, if you're so inclined, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. You should also hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. As always, guys, stay safe out there, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching today's video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And be sure to head over to the Toy News International and Marvelous News Message Boards communities. It's a great place to talk toys and win cool contests like $100 store credits to Big Bad Toy Store. And remember, action figures are great.